العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. The subject of fiqh, and we have reached up to the rules of Qibla. Here we discuss about the Qibla and how to face the Qibla. When we have to face the Qibla, what does it mean? If we know the Qibla, fine. If we doesn't know the Qibla, then what should we do about the prayer? It is the issue 784. Our Qibla is the Holy Kaaba, which is situated in Mecca, and one should offer one's prayers facing it. However, a person who is far would stand in such a manner that people would say that he is praying facing the Qibla, and that would suffice. This also applies to other acts which should be performed facing the Qibla, like while slaughtering an animal, etc. You see, we have to face Qibla at time of the prayer. Now, if we are praying in Masjid al-Haram in Mecca itself, our Qibla is Kaaba direct. You see the Kaaba and you are exactly facing Kaaba. If you draw a line between yourself and the Kaaba, it will reach Kaaba directly. And if you are in Mecca, in the city of Mecca, you don't see the Kaaba, and you cannot say exactly, if you draw a line, you are standing, it will reach the Kaaba itself, It might be little right or little left. So they say your Qibla is all Masjid al-Haram, because the meaning of Qibla that you are facing the Qibla. You are facing, if you are little right, little left, still you are called facing the Qibla. It is not that only one straight line, that if you move little here and there, you are not facing. If one face somebody, well, there is an angle, but still you call it facing him. You don't say he is on the right side or left side. Still you call he is facing him. But now if you are outside Mecca, in different parts of the world, naturally, whatever you face, you cannot draw a line that exactly it will reach Kaaba, or even it will reach Masjid al-Haram. It may be away, but still you are called facing it. If you say that, for example, it is in northeast, when you face northeast, if somebody see you, he said, yes, you are facing the Kaaba, northeast. Though if we draw a line, naturally, the line may be few kilometers towards right side of the Kaaba or left side of the Kaaba, but still is called facing. So the idea of Qibla, you stand in such a way that you are facing the Kaaba, whatever direction. And that is sufficient for the prayer, and also sufficient for other acts that you have to face the Qibla, like at time of slaughtering an animal. You should face the Qibla. Naturally, if you draw a line, it may not reach the Kaaba directly, out of thousands of kilometers distance. But still, if somebody see you, still you are facing Qibla. So it said that is sufficient. And facing means, well, even few degrees right and left will make no difference, because generally speaking, the people who say you are facing Qibla. Yes, it is important that to make sure that what is the direction, use the compass, for example, and know the direction, and you face the direction. Intentionally, you should not go right and left, But if you know that is the line, you follow the line. But whatever you follow the line, practically, if that line is drawn, if you are even 1 millimeter away, 1 millimeter will be kilometers when you move for thousands of kilometers distance, So he said that is okay, make no difference, because generally speaking, if somebody see you, you say you are facing Qibla. That is the thing. Issue 785, a person offering obligatory prayers while standing should have his chest and stomach facing the Qibla, and his face should not decrease from Qibla. And the recommended precaution is that the toes of his feet should also be facing Qibla. And when you say facing, it means what part of the body is facing. Here he explained the parts of the body which is facing. They said the trunk. The trunk is the chest and abdomen. And he said also, recommended that the face and should not turn too much. I mean, if somebody passing and you turn little to see who is there, it is okay. But if you turn too much away from Qibla, then that will affect your prayer. So little turning the face, it is okay. You are not, as long as your chest and your abdomen, your trunk is facing the Qibla. And so that is why you see degrees of facing the face will not affect, but if you turn toward left, definitely your prayer is batil. Now, some ulama have different views. Some said little. Little means that it's a 30 degree, 40 degree, 50 degree angle. Some might believe up to 90 degree if only the face will turn, not the body. Not you turn all your body. Only your face. Some might say up to that, but to look to the back, definitely they say that will make your prayer void. But as it is mentioned here, little turning at least will not affect the prayer. So we try not to turn your face, but little turning is okay. But the body should remain facing the Qibla. Now your hand may face in this way or this way or this way. So it makes no difference. There is no rule about it, because the main thing, as we said, is the trunk. About feet of the leg, the toes, well, as he said, is recommended as a precaution. It should face also the Qibla. So it becomes the chest, the abdomen, the face, and the feet should face the Qibla, and that is called you are facing the Qibla. Now, if you slaughter an animal, sometimes you make an angle between the head. The head is taken up in order to cut the veins and the trachea and esophagus. So animal is in a curve. So how you say the animal is facing Qibla? They said it is the neck and the trunk should face the Qibla. If that faces the Qibla, then the animal is toward Qibla at time of slaughtering. Issue 786, if a person offers prayers while sitting, it is necessary that his face, chest, and stomach face the Qibla. Some people are sick and they cannot stand. Their duty is to pray while sitting. So he said if he is sitting, then his face, his chest, his abdomen should be toward the Qibla. Issue 787, if a person cannot offer prayers in the sitting posture, he should lie on the right hand side in such a manner that the front part of the body would face the Qibla. And if that is not possible, he should lie on the left hand side in such a manner that the front part of his body would face the Qibla. And if even that is not possible, he should lie on his back in such a way that the sole of his feet faces the Qibla. Now, if somebody is sick, he has to pray while sleeping. He cannot sit, he is too ill. If he can turn to his right side, and suppose the Qibla is like this, so he turned to the right side, and again his chest, his abdomen is facing the Qibla. If he cannot lie on his right side, but he is lying on his left side due to operation or any reason, he cannot. If he lie on the left side, again his chest and his abdomen will face the Qibla. That will be facing the Qibla. But if he cannot lie on the right or left side and he's lying on his back for whatever injury, operation or fracture or whatever situation. So now if he's in back, they said the sole of his feet should be toward Qibla. That if he sit, his chest, abdomen will be toward Qibla. So he's sleeping, his feet toward Qibla, and if he sit, his face will be toward Qibla. So that is if he's lying on his backside. These are different situations for sometimes sick people, they need to know about it. Issue 788, namaz ihtiyat and forgotten sajda and forgotten tashahud should all be offered facing the Qibla, and on the basis of recommended precaution, sajda saw should also be offered facing the Qibla. So he said not only the obligatory daily prayers should face the Qibla, but if one miss one sajda, and he should do qada of it after the prayer, or if he miss the tashahud, or if he has to pray 1 rak'at or 2 rak'at of ihtiyat, all that he should face the Qibla. And for sajdatay sahu, he said again as recommended precaution, it should be facing Qibla as well. Issue 789, a mustahab prayer can be offered while one is walking or riding, and if a person offers mustahab prayers in these two conditions, it is not necessary that he should be facing the Qibla. Now, recommended prayer like nafila of Dhuhr or Asr, or any other recommended prayer, mustahab prayer of this day, let us say, for example, you have to pray 2 rak'at if it is mentioned for anything. That prayer, if you are walking or riding an animal or riding a car, then it is not necessary to face the Qibla. You can recite, you can say Allahu Akbar even without facing the Qibla, and you recite Surah Al-Hamd, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and then point out with the head for ruku' and point out more with the head for sujood, and then you raise your head to normal situation for second rak'at and so on. So in that way you can offer your nafila prayer. So if you are coming to the mosque, let us say, and Dhuhr, for example, is over, and you have not reached the mosque, you can pray 8 rak'ats of nafila while driving the car, only by pointing ahead for ruku' and sujood and reciting hamd and qul Allahu ahad, even if the car is moving to the different directions other than Qibla, it is okay. So for mustahab prayer, it is possible to pray it in that way. Nafilatul layl, for example, if you are tired to stand and do ruku' and sujood while walking, you can pray nafilatul layl, for example. You can walk at home, or you walk in the garden, or you walk in the park, or you walk in the street. So while walking, you don't need to face Qibla. You just say Allahu Akbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. You recite, and then only point with your head for ruku' and more for sujood, and that is all. You can complete your nafila in that way. Allah made it easy so that the people should try to pray nafila as much as they can. Issue 790, a person who wishes to offer prayers should make efforts to ascertain the direction of Qibla, and for that he has to either be absolutely sure or acquire such information as may amount to certainty, like testimony of 2 reliable persons. If that is not possible, he should form an idea from the mihrab of the masjid or from the graves of the Muslims, or by other way, and act accordingly. In fact, if a non-Muslim who can determine Qibla by scientific method indicates Qibla satisfactorily, he can be relied upon. Now, if somebody doesn't know what is the direction of Qibla, what to do? He can pray in any direction. He said, no, you have to ascertain about direction of Qibla. And it is not sufficient that you ask anybody, where is Qibla? He said, yes, toward this side. He said, yes, okay. You have to make sure what he says is right. Either there are 2 just witnesses, So that become Hujjah Shar'iyya, tell you, yes, we know Qibla is this side, for example. Or some people who are trustworthy, you can trust what they say, and you know that they are aware and careful about proper direction of Qibla. So when they tell you, you get assurance the direction of Qibla is right. Or any other scientific way, like using the compass yourself, and suppose the compass in that building, in that house where you are, is not affected by magnetic field, because you know sometimes the compass will show you the wrong direction if there is some magnetic field in that building, you know. So you may use the compass when you are outside the house or in the garden, so that there is no influence of magnetic field. Or sometimes you know the direction, let us say, here in North America it is northeast, for example, and it is about 33 degree, for example. Then if you ask even a non-Muslim who knows the northeast properly and you trust what he says, even non-Muslim, if he tell you and you trust his word that he's giving you the right direction, then you know the direction and you can follow that. So in general, you have to be sure about the direction of Qibla. Not blindly anybody tell you, okay, it is like this, it is like that, it is this. Oh, well, I think it is like this, then you pray right away. No, that is not the way. You have to make sure in advance, you know the directions, you know the area. If you have a compass, you use your compass, or at least if you are aware of the direction generally. So when somebody point out to a direction, then you judge it. Is it right or no? Maybe he has done a mistake. So one has to make sure about it by any way, or not to blindly come and stop and offer his prayer. He said other directions like mihrab of the mosque. So naturally the Muslims who built the mosque and built the mihrab, naturally they must know the Qibla. So that is a sign that the Qibla is in this direction. Or the graves of the Muslims, it is toward Qibla naturally. So though you don't see any person, but you see graves of the Muslim in Muslim cemetery, so you know that the people naturally who buried the Muslim, they must have made sure about the Qibla, so you know the direction of Qibla. So these are different signs that you make sure the direction of the Qibla. Issue 791, if a person who has a mere surmise about Qibla and is in position to have a better idea, he should not act on that guesswork. For example, if a guest has an idea about the direction of Qibla on the statement of the owner of the house, but feels that he can acquire a firmer knowledge about the Qibla by some means, he should not act on his host's word. You see, generally here, as we said, one has to make little more sure about it. Not only I have doubt, you know. So if I have doubt about Qibla, I am guest somebody, but not all the people I know are very exact about Qibla. You know, sometimes 30, 40, 50 degree away of Qibla, they regard it as okay. So you ask owner of the house, where is the Qibla? He tell you it is like this. No, it may be like that. But he don't care to be exact. So if you are sure that he knows the Qibla and he is exact, fine. But if you have doubt and you have another way to find the Qibla by using your compass or by asking other guests, for example, who know 2-3 people to make sure, then you have to wait and make sure about the direction of Qibla, rather than by saying of anybody you accept the Qibla. So you have to make sure to be satisfied that the direction of Qibla is the right direction. Issue 792. If a person does not possess any means of determining the direction of Qibla, or in spite of his efforts, he cannot form an idea about it, it will be sufficient for him to offer his prayers facing any direction. And the recommended precaution is that if he has sufficient time at his disposal, he should offer the same prayers 4 times, each time facing every one of the 4 directions. See, sometimes you are in a country, in a place, at night, in a desert, well, in a new city, and you don't know where is east, where is west, what is direction of Qibla. You have no mean for it. You don't have compass. There is no Muslim to ask, no other sign. It is first day you are in that place. So here, what to do? Some ulama said you have to pray in 4 directions. 1 direction, 2, 3 back, and then 4. Right, left, front, back. So naturally you will reach direction of Qibla or near to Qibla in any one of those 4 directions. Some ulama said it is sufficient to pray in 2 directions. Let us say direction in the front and in the back. So within 180 degrees it is okay. Ayatullah Al-Sistani here said, well, if you don't know and you have no way to know the Qibla, it is sufficient to pray to 1 direction. Any direction you pray. But recommended precaution, you pray in 4 directions. So 4 directions, according to Ayatullah Sistani, is a recommended precaution, but some other ulama may say it is obligatory precaution or it is a must. Issue 793, if a person is sure or guesses that Qibla is on one of the 2 directions, he should offer prayers facing both of them. Now, in the previous issue, he doesn't know any direction. Here, he knows it is either this side or that side. Either one. I'm sure not in the back, not on the left, but it is either to the front or to the right side. So he said, in this case, he has to pray in both the directions. One is not sufficient. He should pray in both the directions, meaning he repeats his prayer twice, one to this direction, one to the second direction. Issue 794, if a person has to offer prayers facing a few directions and wants to offer 2 prayers like Dhuhr prayer and Asr prayers, which should be offered one after the other, the recommended precaution is that he should offer the first prayer facing those few directions and then commence the second prayers. See here, still you how to pray in 4 directions. We have to pray Dhuhr, and after Dhuhr is Asr. Now what to do? I pray in this direction Dhuhr and Asr, then in second direction Dhuhr and Asr, then in the third Dhuhr and Asr. Or I pray Dhuhr in 4 directions and then Asr in 4 directions. Which one to be done? He said is to pray Dhuhr prayer in 4 directions and then Asr prayer in 4 directions. Because when you pray Dhuhr prayer in 4 directions, you are sure your Dhuhr prayer is offered in the right direction. So you have completed Dhuhr prayer. So when it comes to Asr prayer, it happens after Dhuhr prayer, and again in 4 directions, your Asr prayer happens. Of course, this is, he said, as a recommended precaution. Issue 795, if a person who is not certain about the direction of Qibla wishes to perform acts other than prayer, other than Salat, which should be done facing the Qibla, like slaughtering an animal, he should act according to his surmise about the direction of Qibla. And if that does not seem possible, then performing the act facing any direction will be valid. See, for a prayer, he said you can pray in 4 directions and that is okay. But now what about if you have to slaughter an animal? You cannot slaughter him 4 times. It's only 1 time. So he said in such case, if you have doubt about 1 direction, that there is more possibility it should be in this direction. Fine. You slaughter in that direction. But if you don't know and you have no idea which direction is the Qibla, then to slaughter the animal in any direction is okay. That will be accepted because you have no idea about the Qibla. So this is about rules and regulations of Qibla. we come to another subject, and that is covering the body in prayers. Issue 796. While offering prayers, a man should cover his private parts even if no one is looking at him. And preference is that he should also cover his body from the navel up to the knee. You see, at time of the prayer, what is obligatory to cover for men is the private parts. I mean, even if he is in a room alone, nobody is there, but he is not allowed to pray naked just because nobody is looking to him. He has to cover his private parts. Some ulama said it is more than that. He has to cover the distance between his navel part and the knee. So it is a wider area to be covered. But according to Ayatullah Al-Sistani, it is recommended, not wajib. What is obligatory is only the private parts to be covered. For women, now the second issue will come. Issue 797. A woman should cover her entire body while offering prayers, including her head and hair. As a recommended precaution, she should also cover the soles of her feet. It is not necessary for her to cover that part of her face which is washed while performing wudu, or the hands up to the wrists, or the upper feet up to the ankles. Nevertheless, in order to ensure that she has covered the obligatory parts of her body adequately, she should also cover a part of the sides of her face as well as lower part of her wrist and the ankles. You see, the woman has to cover her body. You see, even the hair, the neck, all the body. What is exempted is the face. And what is the limits of the face? It said that part which is obligatory to wash in wudu. So the width is between the thumb and middle finger, and the length is between the hairs and the chin. The hairs, naturally, she cannot cover only up to the hair, because well, if the cloth move little, the hair will show, and the hair has to be covered completely. So he said that it's better to cover more, so that you are sure. I mean, you cover more of the face, so you are sure that the limit you should be covered is 100% covered, because you are taking more coverage. And also, it is allowed that the hand to be out, but the hand up to the wrist. Now, you cannot draw a line of the wrist, and sometimes by movement maybe the sleeves will come up, so she has to cover a little more to make sure that she covered all the wrist. And the feet up to the ankle joint is allowed also not to be covered at time of a prayer, but again he said you should cover part of the ankle joint in order to make sure of the feet is open. Now, if the feet is open, when the women go for sujood, naturally the sole will be shown. At time of sujood, the sole will be shown. Sole is not part of the apparent part of the feet. Is it allowed or not? Some may say that it should be covered, but according to Ayatullah Al-Sistani here, he said it is recommended to be covered as well. So not only the feet from outside, but even the sole, as recommended, is to be covered, though the sole is not wajib to be covered. So that will not cover the sole, but as he said, it is recommended to be covered. You know, the feet only in prayer is allowed to be shown, but not for hijab. For hijab, the exception is the face and the hands. The feet should be covered as part of hijab. But for the prayer, if the woman is alone at home, there is no foreign person there, if the feet is not covered is okay. But as part of hijab, the feet should be covered, because some people mix between hijab and the prayer. the feet at time of prayer is not wajib to be covered, but as part of hijab, it is wajib to be covered. So they are not same for hijab and for the prayer. For hijab, as you said, only the face and the two hands. That's all. Issue 798, when a person offers the forgotten sajda or tashahhud, he should cover himself in the same manner as in prayers. And the recommended precaution is that he should also cover himself at the time of offering sajda sahw. So he said not only the prayer itself, but forgotten parts of the prayer, like forgotten sujood or forgotten tashahhud, he should cover himself, and also as recommended precaution at time of offering sajda sahw, he should cover himself as well. Issue 799, if while offering prayers a person does not cover his private parts intentionally or on account of not having cared to know the rules, his prayers is void. So if intentionally he does not cover, a man does not cover his private parts intentionally, then his prayer is void. Or if he did not go and ask about the issue, he was careless to ask about his religious duty, so that carelessness will not be accepted and his prayer is void. Issue 800, if a person realizes while offering prayers that his private parts are visible, he must immediately cover them, and it is not necessary for him to repeat the prayer. As a measure of precaution, he should not continue performing any part of the prayers as long as the private parts are visible. If he learns after the completion of prayers that his private parts were visible, his prayers would be deemed valid. You see, sometimes one, it is on the seaside and he has only the swimming dress, for example, and he was not aware that that dress, to say there are some holes in it, or so that some of the private parts are known, So not intentionally he is praying that his prayer is all right. But if at middle of the prayer he realized that the dress he has is not covering his body, so he should stop continuing the prayer and try to cover his private parts and then continue his prayer. But if after finishing the prayer he realized that at time of the prayer his private parts were not covered properly because he did not know about it, then his prayer is all right. So there are many issues here, more or less on this way, about the prayers, which are clear if you want to read it yourself. And I think we stop here because the rest are very clear. Generally, that one should know that the man should cover at least the private parts, and recommended is to cover between his umbilicus and the knee, and the woman has to cover all the body. What is permitted is the face, the two hands, and the 2 feet. So that is to be known, and one should learn this mas'ala, not to be lazy or going, and not to be careless of asking. You should ask, you should know, you should learn ahkam of the prayer. Otherwise, if he was lazy and careless, and he prayed for, let us say, months or years, while he's at home alone and he's not covering his private parts, or a woman not covering her hair, or not covering her neck, or not covering her hand, for example, a hand more than the up to the wrist, let us say the upper part of the hand is shown, then he said their prayer is void because they were careless. Not that they didn't know, they asked, nobody knows them, there's nobody to ask, and they didn't know how to learn or where to learn, and so on. They were just careless about it. So carelessness is not accepted and will not make your prayer all right. It will void the prayer. So it shows importance of learning ahkam, so that one's prayer is all right. There are other issues about the dress that inshallah will continue in the second session. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi al-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.